Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. It is December 6th. There are 3 weeks left in the year. And I keep saying to you guys over and over and over, and I'll keep saying it until January, but you need to start today. Don't wait until January to get people excited, to get yourself excited, to get yourself posting about things. People are going to want to see you now. They're not going, if you think, oh, I'll just jump on the bandwagon in January, it's going to be too late then. So definitely start getting your challenge groups, planning ahead, planting those seeds now. That's what you're doing. You're planting those seeds, you're watering them, and then in January, you want them to kind of grow and blossom. Things coming up, we have the January Health Bet. That's another way that you can start inviting people now. Do not wait until January to invite people to the Health Bet. What was I going to say? Super Saturday, Super Saturday, January 9th, I believe. It's the first Saturday in January. I'm going to the one in Philly with Bonnie Engel. There are still tickets available. I know that thing's going to be sold out because she's like the number 2 coach in the entire network. So you obviously want to hear from her. Most of the team from Jersey is going there, but definitely look in the Coach Online office. If you're not from Jersey, get to a Super Saturday, especially the first quarter, so the first one for the entire year. You want to get pumped, you want to get fired up, and that's what it's going to do. It's just going to bring you around all the same like-minded people to get you fired up like I am. So we have a really special guest tonight, Brad Bizjack. If you don't know him, Brad is just a fireball of energy, and we just love him. I'm not going to introduce him because Leah was the leader who asked him to join and speak on our team call. So I'm going to throw it over to Leah to do some intro.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Brad. Awesome. Super excited to have you on our call tonight. So for those of you that don't know Brad, I will give you a little bit of an intro about him. He is a 5-star diamond premier coach last year. He has 44 consecutive months in Success Club. That's crazy. Success Club 10 legend. He is a full-time coach, engaged to his fiance, and they're getting married this summer. So super, super exciting for him. And he also is a huge lover of dogs. He has a really cute, adorable dog and takes some cute videos and pictures and always incorporates him in there. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say for us tonight, and take it away.
Woohoo! I'm excited to talk to you guys. This is exciting, and just for a quick second, I think it's super important that for both the leaders that just spoke, that we go through and just share something in the chat box about why we're grateful to have them. I mean, I think that's something that gets easily missed, is how hard these guys work every single day to provide you guys with the tools and the resources to make sure that you're taken care of, and just wanting you guys to succeed so bad. So show some love in the chat box before we get started. And I want to reiterate what Rose said a second ago about January, how it starts now. And we'll talk more about that throughout the call. Tonight's call is going to be all about consistency. I've talked to you guys about mindset stuff before, right? We've done a call about that before. Well, tonight's call is going to actually be about consistency, but not in the boring way that, someone always says, like, hey, just be consistent. I'm going to really show you how it applies to your business. And so real quick before I get into that, sure, in January, some people are going to be more interested in health and fitness stuff, just like Rose talked about. But, and a lot of times people make the mistake of saying, okay, in January, I'm going to pick it up a notch. After the holidays, I'm going to pick it up a notch. But guess what? In January, they're already going to know which coach they're going to want to talk to. And if they don't see your consistency now, it is not going to be you. And that's just the cold hard truth about it. So make sure you're starting your consistency now. For the health bet that Rose was talking about, I'm following Christina Delgado's video she did in the Beachbody Champions page. The Transformation Tuesdays and all that stuff. Rose, I can send you information on that later. But yeah, so thank you guys for taking the time out of your night to be here. I'm really excited to see some familiar faces, and I really appreciate that commitment to continuous learning. I really believe that's one of the signs of successful people is they don't see learning as a chore, right? They see it as an opportunity to learn and grow, and it's so cool being here with so many guys. Some of you guys I've never met before. Some of you guys I've had the privilege of meeting, I've had the privilege of meeting before, but I hope to meet all of you guys. And raise your hand if you're dissatisfied in your business in any way. I am, right? I think everybody is, because you want more. That's the type of people we are. There's nothing wrong with that. Get excited, because dissatisfaction is a gem. I talk about that on every single call. And tonight there's going to be a lot of little nuggets about consistency that you can take away. And I don't want you guys to focus on writing everything down, but really soak in the overall concepts of this and focus on the 2 or 3 things that really hit you and write those down and take action on them immediately. So I really appreciate the introduction. And it's nice of you to go through all those things and share the 5-star, the full-time coach, and the engagements and all that stuff. But I think what I want to start with, just to make it a little more relatable to you guys, that none of those things that she was just talking about reflects any of the failure whatsoever in any way, shape, or form that I've gone through over the last couple of years to get there, right? And trust me, there has been so much. And I remember when I was a brand new coach and seeing all these top leaders and their awesome accomplishments, and they were being recognized for so many different things. And I was like, holy crap, that is insane. How did they do that? Over the course of time, as I grew my business, I started to realize what they were doing that holds a lot of people back. They welcomed failure as a tool for their success. And I'm going to share some things about failure before I get into the consistency piece in a second. But let me be totally straight with you. Most of my coaching career is consistent failure. Most of my coaching career is. And that's why I am where I am, because I got a strong education from the things that didn't work, right? Results. Think about this. I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy. I know a lot of guys on your team went to Tony Robbins recently. I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy. And he always talks about how results come from the correct action. And that correct action comes from good judgment. Good judgment, it comes from experience. Experience typically comes from bad judgment. Right? So every single time you screw up, it's a learning experience leading to making the right decision to get you a better result. So I want to share some of the experiences of bad judgment or mistakes that I've made throughout the last couple of years, and be brutally honest with you to kind of help you see how relatable this is. And I'm sure a lot of you guys will see this too in your businesses and see how it's a great thing to help you learn and grow. So my first 3.5 months, I called in favors to Hit Success Club because I refused to invite. Anyone else refused to invite in their business? I spammed Facebook for the first few months of my business, and I was defriended by 400 people in my first couple months as a coach. And there were even groups that were started to make fun of me. I failed to share with Janice why I was a Beachbody coach. I didn't include her on any of the successes I had, and it started to come in between my relationship with her for months, and it caused problems, and she resented Beachbody for a long time because I never shared with her why I was doing this. I just expected her to understand why I was spending so much time on the computer. I one time advertised a fit club to over 500 people for 6 weeks in a row, and the most that ever showed up were 3, and most of the time it was 1, and that person was her. For the first 2.5 years, I didn't build a duplicatable business. In fact, in December of 2014, my business was bigger than it was in December of 2015. Interesting, right? My business was smaller in 2015. And I knew coaches that helped me create the premier status, but it was smaller in terms of volume than in 2016 and then in 2014. And there's how it worked with ATV. I'm sure you guys are probably wondering that, but ended up working out for volume. But my business in total size was smaller at the end of the year than it was at the end of the year before. And in 2016, it's only a little bit bigger. For the first time in a very long time, not for the first time in a very long time, for a very long time, I focused on myself getting recognized instead of genuinely caring for my team. And I got really well known in the Beachbody community, but my business was small because my team didn't trust me. When I got back from Summit in 2014, 2 of the diamonds on my team had quit, and they told me that they didn't like the team culture that we had, and they didn't feel a sense of culture, and they quit. So until June of 2016, the only complete Beachbody program that I followed was in the fall of 2013. 3 years. Think about that for a second, meaning I wasn't actually a product of the product. I just kind of went for it randomly with workouts. I spent a year trying to convince people that I coach, convince people to coach instead of consistently recruiting other people. And because of that, I relied solely on retail sales for a very long time. And I didn't have a significant business. I missed elites by 3 points last year. And I missed elites and premier this year. And I can go on and on about those failures, but why do I share them with you? Because I'm incredibly excited about them. I'm really, really excited about that. Those sound pretty rough. Some of those are pretty rough, right? And I'm so grateful they happened. But I realized that my solution to being happy in my business had nothing to do with those things. I learned to objectively see my problems instead of getting lost in my problems. I learned that no solution can exist if I'm emotionally invested in the struggles I'm having in my business. I learned that if I can always feel excited no matter what happens, if I could really be excited no matter what happens, knowing that I'm not in control of other people's actions, if I could really be excited about the experience of the moment of everything, no matter what happens, then it doesn't make a difference what happens because it's always a good day. I learned to never let anything in my life be important enough to close my heart over it. And think about it, guys. Think about this for a second. With the struggles of your business, what kind of life are you going to have if you worry all the time? Ask yourself that. If you are always worrying every single second of the day about something that's wrong, right? Think about that. What kind of life are you really going to lead if all you do is worry? Tony Robbins always talks about how, there's so many things we can focus on. And one of those things that a lot of people focus on is being like, what's wrong? So many people are focused on what's wrong all the time, but very few focus on what's right. Learning that the prerequisite to freedom was deciding that I didn't need to internally suffer anymore changed me. And the reason I share that with you is because you cannot succeed without failing, guys. It's an opportunity to start again more intelligently. Because if you're not willing to fail consistently, you're not willing and put yourself out there, you're not willing to build this business. That's a fact. Failure, screwing up, or struggles is the best thing that can happen to you because it's how you learn and grow. And when you fail, it just means that you figure out what works faster than those that don't fail. And a lot of the times when we screw up, a lot of people slow down, right? When that happens, when we slow down, we slow down. But when we go hard and then quit, it means one thing. It means we haven't found the real reason why we're here. And I wish I had time to go through that and finding your purpose and finding your real why. Not the one that we think our coach wants to hear, but the real, deep, emotional, selfish one that will drive us every single day. And if I had more time, I would. And so I want to talk about that for just a brief second, though. When you find that real, deep, passionate, vulnerable, emotional reason why you're on this call right now, instead of watching Netflix or going and doing something else, then you'll want to implement what I'm going to teach you guys about constant recruitment and consistency. Right? You're going to want to. You won't lose that motivation, especially this time of year. I hear coaches say, I've just lost the motivation this time of year. No, when you have that purpose, you don't lose motivation. You're fired up all the time. Those screws become good things. When your purpose is deep enough, guys, taking action becomes second nature. You just do. You don't have to wait for a magical lightning bolt of motivation to strike you in the ass. You just find a way and you keep on going. When you guys are looking for motivation, that's in the wrong place because you already have motivation. You can already create motivation. Motivation, it's motive for action. It's created by action, right? So ask yourself that. Do you know why you're here? Do you really know why you're on this call right now instead of doing something else? And if you're having trouble finding that why, work with your upline, work with your coach, and dive into those things that you're afraid of. But understand that everything that you ever want in life is always going to be on the other side of fear. And the only thing that's holding you back from attacking that fear head on is the story you tell yourself in your mind. So I challenge you to attack this business in a different way than a lot of people do. Successful people are consistently optimistic and see everything as something they can be incredibly grateful for. So instead of asking yourself, what if you screw up? Because trust me, you are going to probably screw up at this business more than you've screwed up at anything else in your life, maybe, right? Ask yourself instead, what if I succeed, right? What if I can fulfill that purpose? What if I can retire my husband or wife? What if I can travel without having to worry? What if I can change the lives of thousands of people? What if I can give my kids or my future kids the life that they deserve, right? What if I succeed? If you make that your new mentality, you're going to be unstoppable. It's okay to be afraid, guys. It's okay to be afraid of some things, but most people don't have what they want because fear controls their life. What if instead you noticed the fear, accepted it, and then just did it anyways, right? Can you imagine how proud you'd be of yourself? Most people won't do that, right? But you're not most people. Every single person on this call is special because you're here. You want something out of this, and you are enough right now to make it happen. And you have everything you need right freaking now to do it. Shout it to people. They should know what you do. They should know that you're different, and that's okay. Being different is a very good thing. There's so much social identity behind what we do, right? Whether you're a school teacher or a doctor or a lawyer or a stay-at-home mom or a fireman or an engineer, right? We say a lot of those things with pride because it's what most people do. But when it comes time to stand up and say, you know what, I am a Beachbody coach and I change people's lives every freaking day, people cower and they hide, right? Please accept the fact that helping people is really fucking cool. It's really cool. And my grandpa always used to say, yours is the obligation to make yourself stand out from the crowd. Guys, do that. Be different. That vulnerability to be different, that courage to share your struggle and be real and stand out is somebody else's freedom. Don't you dare leave that shit trapped in your mouth. Imagine for a second if this was completely ripped away from you. How would you feel if Beachbody was ripped away? You can't have any of the things you've had before. You have to go back to the life before it. Your fitness, gone. Your business, gone. Shakeology, gone. Everything gone. Imagine how you would feel right now if that was taken away from you. Well, guys, you not sharing this with as many people as you possibly can is ripping that feeling away from them. Don't leave their freedom trapped in your mouth. Be different and be damn proud of it. And I'm going to share with you the one tool in consistency that will help you do that. So how many of you guys have ever lost motivation in your business in some way, right? I have too. And guys, trust me, this stuff's a lot easier to teach than it is to do, but that's where discipline comes in, right? How many of you guys even didn't really want to be on the team call tonight? Be honest, if anyone didn't want to be Rachel, I appreciate your honesty. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for having the courage to share that. How many of you guys feel that you sometimes go strong for 2-3 weeks and then you trickle off and then you disappear? And then you got to get remotivated and then you trickle off and you disappear again. How many people? Raise your hand on that one. I didn't see. Okay, so a good amount of hands. This is going to be helpful. So it's because you've never done what it takes to gain momentum. If that's you, you need to gain momentum. You need to earn momentum. You know the activities, right? You know what we need to do. And a lot of times you see that computer staring at you and you're like, shit, I know I need to do this. I just don't freaking feel like doing it, right? Guilty, right? I've done that too. But are you consistent with your activities? And this stuff is stuff you know. It's stuff that's preached over and over and over again by Beachbody, by Rose, by Lisa, by this entire team. You know that you should be consistent. But I want to talk about something that's going to put things in perspective on how important this really is. And if you read The Compound Effect, you understand this metaphor. If I were to give you $3 million cash right now, or a single penny doubling in value every single day for 31 days, which would you take? Right? Which would you take? A lot of people would be like, hell, I'm going to take the $3 million. Raise your hand if you would take the $3 million. A lot of you guys are smart and you've read The Compound Effect, right? You know where I'm going with this, right? But the way they pick doesn't give them the compound effect, right? This business works the same way. Day 1, you have 1 cent. Day 5, you have 16 cents. Day 10, you got $5.10. Now, what are we at? Day 10 or day 20, you got $5,000, right? Day 31, you have $10.7 million. What's better? Which would you prefer? Do the math. It's right. It takes consistency for a very long time if you want this to happen. And you have to believe that it will happen before it does. And another example Chalene Johnson uses. What's better, brushing your teeth every single day for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, or brushing them 2 hours once on Sunday? Right? Consistency prevents cavities. Would you agree? Right? It's all about consistency. And the last metaphor here, or one of the last metaphors I'll use is, this business is like And the reason I share these different metaphors, by the way, is because each one will hit someone different. So I also use the metaphor of this business is like pushing a boulder up a hill. And I think a lot of you guys will be able to relate to this one. And the objective is to get that boulder up the hill and down the opposite side. That's your goal, to get it rolling away from you so fast and you sprinting, trying to catch up. The compound effect, right? And so many people push and they push and they push so hard and they get a quarter of the way up and then they stop. And they let it go and they say, shit, this isn't working. I'm just going to stop and maybe later on I'll do it. And the boulder rolls back down the hill, but it rolls further than where you started because it has momentum going backwards, right? And then this is the coach that loses momentum and has to find that motivation in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? And then they get back on board. And then they're like, you know what? I'm going to go at this again. I'm going to do it. And you push that boulder and you push that boulder up a hill and you're pushing hard and you're pushing hard and you realize you had to push even harder to get right back to the same exact spot. You realize this shit just doesn't work, right? And you let it go and it rolls back to that same spot. And then you go to, a team retreat, right? And you get super amped up and you're all excited to come to the team call. And then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go for this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And you push that boulder and you push that boulder and you get past that point of the quarter of the way up there and you get halfway up the hill, right? And your legs are burning and your shoulders are burning and you're absolutely exhausted and you're so sick and tired of not having the results yet. And a lot of people quit because they're convinced that this doesn't work. That's not the case though, guys, is it? It's not the business that doesn't work. It's you that doesn't work the business daily. Because if that same person would have pushed that quarter of the way plus a quarter of the way plus half the way, think about what would have happened. You would have been all the way up, right? If you would have just kept going, you would have made it to the top of that hill. And what happens when that boulder crosses that point? You don't have to put in as much effort to just get it off the ground, right? In fact, it's probably going to speed away from you. But the problem with this business is that most people quit before the miracle happens. Most people don't stay consistent long enough to see the miracle. When if they just would have stayed with it, this would have worked for them. It's not the business that doesn't work. It's not the people you know. It's your consistency. And then they blame the upline, or they blame the business, or they blame something to give them an easy way out, to tell themselves a story on why this doesn't work. But this works for everybody. Everyone has the same product in the same business, right? It works for everyone as long as each person decides to work it for a long time. And a lot of people say, well, how long? How long do I have to stay consistent with this? Well, here's my answer to that. However long you decide your family is worth fighting for, that's how long you freaking work this business. Ask yourself that. What if you give up? What if you quit? What if you slow down? That's the same thing as looking your husband or wife in the eye and saying, sorry, you weren't worth it. That's what quitting this business is. Ask how that feels for a second. You have to be willing to work with complete faith in the unknown and passion behind a dream with purpose at your back if you want this to change the course of your family's life. The coach that always has to play catch up or always has to get refocused or loses sight of their purpose is the coach that never gains momentum that it takes to truly build something special. And that was me for a long time, guys. That was me for a very long time. Stop stopping. Would P90X work if you did one week on, 1 week off? Would you keep losing weight with 21-day fix if you did 21 days with the containers and then 21 days eating whatever the hell you wanted? No. Consistency is everything with this business. I'm going to do one more metaphor before I actually relate this to what you are seeing in your daily activities. Have you guys heard of the well analogy from the compound effect? This one is incredible. And so, you know those wells you have out there in the country, right? You got to pump, you got to pump, you got to pump. And you're so thirsty, right? You guys want this. How many of you guys want this to work? How many of you guys just want this so bad to work? And you're so damn thirsty and you want that water so bad. Then you start pumping that well as hard as you can. And I want you to ask yourself, which type of well pumper are you? Person one, coach one. You think that this could happen. You know, that you pump and you pump and you pump and nothing's happening. You really think there's something here, this could happen. But after a while of pumping, your arms started burning and your shoulders burning and you're getting tired and you're sweating. You stop and you blame the world for your problems and you go back to where you were thinking that this should have happened by now and you give up on the dream and you stop pumping that well. That's person number one. Ask yourself if you're that person. Person number two, there's the coach that not only believes this could, but believes this should happen. This should happen. and they have some hope here, and they keep pumping, and they keep seeing those people leave. They keep seeing those people leave that, that they want their well to work so bad. They want the water to come up, and so they keep going even after those people leave. And water starts coming out. They actually get some sort of a result. A challenge pack here, a couple of coaches sign there, maybe a couple Shakeology orders, but it's not coming out super strong. And a couple of people quit, right? And it's that little trickle of water. And that coach says, screw this. This doesn't work. And they stop. They stop pumping that well, right? Is that you? Ask yourself that. And then there's Rose, and people like Rose, and people that I look up to so much, like Lisa and myself and Bob and Tommy Migrant and Lindsay Matway and some of you guys that are person number 3. They're the coach that believes this will happen. No matter what, this will work. And they have faith in the unknown, and they keep on pumping that well no matter what. And they go through the beginning and they push through it, and they see that little trickle of water, right? And they know they're onto something, and they keep pushing even when everyone else tells them this pump is broken. This doesn't work. This is a horrible idea. You're wasting your freaking time. They keep pumping and they keep pumping, and their arm is getting tired and their shoulder's getting tired, and they fight through that. If they know they fight through that pain consistently and they never give up at this, they're going to have an endless stream of water. And guess what? They get it. And once they do, they only have to pump once every few seconds to keep that stream going. So where are you on that belief bridge? The could, the should, and the will. Where are you? Because you need all 3 to get to the other side. Are you at the could level, the should level, or the will level? Which part are you at? It won't happen unless you have all of them. Consistency is everything in this business, everything. And without it, you'll never go anywhere, and you'll stay in the exact same place in your business. Nothing will change. No financial success, same exact place. But if you're consistent, your entire universe will change. Don't quit pushing before your miracle happens. So how does this relate directly to your business? In the beginning, what happens? People think this is a fad, right? Good for them. It can never work. This doesn't work for people like that. But think about it more detail in regards to your vital behaviors. Let's say you decide to be person number 3 and you never stop. Let's talk about it with your personal growth. In the beginning, you think it's a waste of time, right? How many of you coaches in the beginning thought that personal growth was a dumb waste of time? Anyone? I did too, right? And that leaks off onto the people that you try to help. But for some reason, something your coach has been saying is telling you to keep picking up that book. So you pick it up again and you read it for a few months and you don't give up at it. And all of a sudden you find yourself waking up a little bit happier. You find yourself waking up a little bit more motivated. You want to do your workouts. You want to drink your shake. You start to see these conversations of other people and the conversations they're having in their life and say, you know what? I think that's wrong. I'm not going to react that way, right? You want to talk with people. You have a better outlook on life. So you keep doing it and you stay consistent with it and you keep doing it and you keep picking up that book. And now it's been 9 months to a year of it. And your entire outlook on life has changed. You believe in people. You radiate energy. You believe in yourself. And you know this is going to happen. And what happens is people become attracted to you. You just radiate energy and people want to be part of what you have. Think about that for a second. Think about what consistency in your personal development will do for your life. And then what about your workouts and your Shakeology? Think about that for a second. This business is simple, guys, but let's talk through them. In the beginning, you start out and it hurts, right? The taste of Shakeology is weird and you're pooping sideways for a couple days and you're wondering if this is ever going to get better, right? Think about that. How many of you guys have ever felt that way? You're wondering if that soreness is going to go away, but you stay consistent for a couple months and you start to notice, oh, I'm pooping regular now, right? And you have more energy, right? And you're feeling better and you're getting excited. Sorry about the poop jokes. And you get excited to work out and sorry, and you're not sore anymore, right? You've lost a couple pounds and you're feeling great and you really just naturally are telling people about this. So, you know what? You decide to keep pushing. You decide to stay consistent and you never give up and you feel freaking amazing and you can't help but share this with other people. Your entire life changes. You've lost weight. Other people are asking you what you're doing. You can't believe you feel so damn good and you just want to keep going and working out and drinking Shakeology and following that meal plan becomes part of your life because you know without it, you feel a lot worse. Pretty amazing what consistency does there, right? Then what about your invites? Let's talk about that for a second. You start off and people think you're just going through a fad. People think you're crazy, right? They don't believe that this really works, and they don't see it from you yet, right? Because you haven't been consistent with your workouts, right? And they might say no. They don't see that belief in you as their coach because you haven't been consistent with personal development long enough yet. But you stay consistent. And maybe you've started a couple people out. You help a couple people with a couple challenge packs, right? You maybe hit Success Club and you decide to share their success stories, right? And even though you're getting a couple of no's along the way, you keep inviting, right? You keep pushing, but it's still pretty hard, right? You're not getting all those yeses flowing in, but you keep pushing and you never give up, right? And then you've gotten better. You've tuned into a couple of webinars. You've gone to Summit. You've gone to your team retreat, and your skills have improved. And those people that have been following you for the longest time are now knowing that you're the person that are there for them when they want to make a change. You go back to those people who said no, and they're like, damn, this person's still pushing. I want to be part of this. And all of a sudden, those no's you got along the way are all starting to come around and turn into yeses because they've seen you stay consistent with this. And this is really working for them. I want to be part of this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do it. So then what about sharing it on social media? What about your posts, right? And in the beginning, it's uncomfortable for people, right? People think it's a phase. People think that, I don't want to be judged, right? People think they're just selling something. You probably suck at posting in the beginning and you just want people to join your challenge group. But you keep getting better. You learn from Gary Vaynerchuk. You do personal development. You tune into different social media webinars. You follow your coach training academy. You learn from other coaches and you keep getting better. And then you start sharing about you and your struggles instead of the product. You share emotions, not promotions, right? You start sharing your vulnerability. You start opening up and maybe some people start to follow you, but they're not that convinced yet because they haven't seen it long enough. But you don't stop. You don't stop. You barely get any likes or any comments for a year, right? But you keep going and you keep sharing how your life is changing and how other people's lives are changing around you. And they know to check your page and to see if you have any challenge groups coming up because you have been consistent in sharing. People can't help but message you to be part of it because they've seen all of these lives change that you've shared consistently throughout the year. Now, what happens when all of that is blended together? What would happen if you make the choice to stay consistent with the stuff that you already know you need to do and already know how to do it, and if you don't, Google it, right? What if you make the choice to stay consistent and make your mind right to become the happiest, best person you can be, and you follow your nutrition and you do your workouts and you drink your shake every day and you feel the best you've ever felt and you keep working on your invites and they keep getting better and people start to find that you're predictable and they can go to you. That energy from your mindset improving radiates, and your health improving, it radiates energy out into the world, right? And all those no's that you've had over the last year start to see that you're for real. You're someone they can trust, and when they're ready to make that change, people see that you're for real on social media and that you never quit, and all of a sudden, bam, people start messaging you like crazy. You start to gain followers. And what's the one thing you've been doing? Right? That's what they want to know. What is the thing you've been doing? How do I join your next challenge group? Success Club becomes easy. Think about that for a second. What is the only thing that you did? All you did was you stayed consistent through it all. That's all you did. You did the secret to this business that everybody is looking for. You spend your time being consistent in your vital behaviors. You never stopped pushing that boulder up the hill. You never stopped pumping that well. You never stopped when other people did. Think about what people are looking at right now in December. Think about this for a second. Most coaches are going to slow down, right? Not you. Most coaches will. They're going to slow down right now. This is the time of year where most people become inconsistent with their vital behaviors and very consistent with getting back on track, right? How many people on this team, ask yourself this, am I the coach that has been posting more about getting back on track than how proud I am of my results? Ask yourself that for a second. Think about what people are looking for right now. There is a flood of people that are going to be needing your help very, very soon, that are going to want someone's help very, very soon. And what you do right now, just like Rose talked about, between now and the end of the year, determines if they're going to do it with you or the coach that's been showing up every day. Because what happens when everyone else slows down? The people that have been showing up stand out way more. They stand out way more because everyone else is slowing down. So ask yourself if you're someone that you would trust Are you someone that you would trust to be there for them? Are you someone that's always getting back on track with your program? Or are you someone who's disappearing from your business and then coming back? Why in the hell would anyone trust you as their coach if that is you? And I don't say that as a dig to your character. I say that as just a fact of this business. Why would they trust you? And if that has happened, that's okay, but you can change starting right now. People are thinking, if that coach is you, people are thinking, I want to change my life, but he or she isn't the person that I'm going to talk to because it's clearly something that's not working for them. That's what they're thinking if you are not staying consistent with your workouts and Shakeology right now. And guess what, guys? You don't need 6 months to prove it to them that this works. You need a 3-day refresh and a 21-day fix, and you are good to go. Right? Consistency in all of your and then consistency from there, right? Consistency in your vital behaviors leads to momentum in your business. You can't do what I did for 2.5 years, which is doing 2 or 3 out of the 4 and expect this to work. You can't bake a cake without eggs, right? You don't have the result you want. You can't have a good cake without frosting, right? Momentum is a leader's best friend. Momentum is that thing that helps you, that basically makes the difference between winning and losing. When you have no momentum, even the smallest tasks they just seem friggin' impossible. Small problems turn into huge, massive setbacks. The future becomes scary. An organization without momentum, which was mine for 2.5 years, is like a train stopped in the middle of the tracks. Even that John Maxwell makes the example of even that small wooden block, right, put in front of the wheel of that train will stop the entire train from moving somewhere. But when you have momentum, you see what will happen, right? People will come to you. You'll multiply instead of staying stagnant. Obstacles don't seem like they're anything anymore. An organization with momentum is that same train moving along the tracks going 60 miles an hour, and you can build this steel reinforced concrete wall across the tracks, and that train would just ram right through it because you're unstoppable with momentum. Momentum is a magnifying glass and everything. John Maxwell calls it the great exaggerator because you're better than you really are, right? Think about it with basketball games. When teams are on a 10-0 run, why does the opposing coach always call a timeout? Right? It's to stop momentum. Everything works when you have momentum. Momentum, as a leader, it makes you look better than you really are. Your team is going to think you're a genius, and you're able to help your new teammates perform better. And they feel they can perform, and they feel a lot better than trying to perform in an organization that's in a lull, right? But you have to earn it. That's the thing. You have to earn your momentum. Momentum is so much easier to steer than it is to start, but you have to start it if you want it, right? Think about that same train we talked about. When it first started chugging along, right, it's moving really slowly, and it took time, but as you keep going, that wheel starts turning easier and easier, and it's going a little bit faster and faster and faster, and eventually it's going, and you don't have to put as much coal on it, right? And so many ridiculous metaphors in this call, but creating this momentum is 100% your responsibility. It's not your coach's responsibility. It's not their team page that's the problem. It's not their training that's the problem. It's your responsibility and only yours. You have to take accountability as a leader of your organization, right? You have these resources, but guess what? This resource, Rose's team call, she doesn't have to do this. You are responsible for your own business. You have to have a purpose. You have to have a vision. You have to have passion. Guys, without a doubt, you have to have consistency. Eleanor Doan has an amazing quote, and that is, you cannot kindle a fire in any other heart until it's burning within your own. Think about that. Do you hear what that's saying? Right? You can't expect anybody to follow you unless you are walking the path that you expect them to walk daily. Think about that. That's the power of momentum. And that is what you'll earn, not get, but you'll earn when you have the discipline to define your purpose and stay consistent with the things that you already know how to do or can learn how to do when things get tough. So where is your activity? Let's do an honesty check right now. Where is your activity? Are you being consistent in the right things, the vital behaviors? Not just being consistent showing up to your business every day and logging on Facebook and attending the team calls and stalking your team page, but consistency in the right actions that build your business. Your homework after you leave here is to answer this series of 10 questions that I'm going to give you right now. And this is what I want you guys to do right when you hang up this call. Everyone good with pen and paper? Number 1, of self-honesty check. What is the one activity that I avoid in my business? Ask yourself that question. What is the one activity that I avoid in my business? Number 2, what is the one area that I waste too much time on? That's another question I want you to ask yourself. What's the one area I waste too much time on? Number 3, and I can send these to you guys afterwards if you guys want. Number 3, what is the one excuse that's holding me back right now? The one story that's playing over and over again in my mind? What's that? What's that one excuse? Number 4, what's my main motivation for sharing my success and my desire for success as a coach? Basically, what's your why? Number 5, I know if I did blank more, I'd be further along. I know your hands are getting tired here. I know if I did blank more, I'd be further along. Number 6, in the last 60 days, I've made blank progress on my personal fitness goals, and I've been following blank program. A lot of people might not be able to answer that question, right? Is that a problem? Number 7, have I followed a fitness program in Shakeology daily from start to finish? Yes or no? Number 8, I am on top of my personal development blank % of the time. Ask yourself that question. Number 9, do I have business hours that I stick to? And number 10, what are the top 10 things I spend my Beachbody time doing? Ranking them in order of most time to least time. What are the top 10 things that I spend my Beachbody time doing? Ranking them in order from most time to least time. And I want you guys to think about that for a second. I know you guys probably have a good idea of the answers to those questions. And I can copy and paste them in the chat box in a little bit just so you guys have them all. But ask yourself this question. Like, a lot of you guys will know looking at this. Should people trust me as their coach based on this activity? And that will give you a very solid clue as to why you are exactly where you are, right? Should people trust me as their coach based on this activity? Or am I just hoping and wishing that this thing gets built magically? Where do you need to reevaluate? Think about that for a second. Guys, you all have the ability to inspire and motivate another person to be better than they were yesterday. It has nothing to do with the rank in your online office. It has nothing to do with where you are in your business right now. It has nothing to do with the lack of consistency or consistency that you've had in the past. You can start today, right now. And you can't change what happened in the past, but you can learn from it. And I get that it's scary to take the lead and do the things that you need to do to build this. I get that. But I can promise you that if you take the lead starting right now, you are going to be so thankful that you did. And I want to bust some of that fear wide open. So if I could have 10 more minutes, I want to go into some excuses that hold a lot of people back. And I want you guys to ask yourself this. Have I ever been afraid of what people might think of me? Raise your hand if that's you. Have you ever been afraid of what people might think of you? Right? And here's the thing. When you focus on what other people are thinking about you, you take the focus 100% off of helping them and you put it back onto yourself. You're not doing your job as a Beachbody coach. You're fueling your ego. People aren't even thinking about us. That's the thing. Think about when you saw your coach on Facebook. You weren't thinking about them. You were thinking about how your life would change if you had their story. You're thinking about yourself. Right? People are thinking about themselves. People are not mostly thinking about you, unfortunately, right? When you share your story and your vulnerability, they're thinking about how your story relates to them. We are naturally selfish beings, so they're thinking about themselves. So don't ever let that fear get in the way because they're not thinking about us to begin with, right? And think about when you were inspired in any way, it was always from someone sharing vulnerability. The second fear that I want to talk about is how many of you guys have ever been afraid to fail, right? That's a big one. A lot of people have that one, right? But we talked about that already. But one of my mentors, Josh Spencer, talked about this at the Men's Leadership Retreat. And he said, your success will be dependent on your willingness to accept, welcome, and learn from constant failure, or you will never be standing where I am right now. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Think about the things I shared at the beginning of the call. Accept failure right now. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good thing and it's admirable, right? I'd rather spend my time with someone that's willing to fail their butt off than someone that's not willing to try, right? How many of you guys have ever been afraid that you can't build this business because you don't think you know enough people? Has anyone on this call ever felt that way, that you don't know enough people? And I want to talk about that one real quick. Guys, you don't know who needs us. How many of you guys know someone that followed you for a long time and reached out because they've been following you? Think about that. You don't know who needs us. You don't know about that woman on the park bench, that dude on the train. You don't know their history. You don't know their pain, right? You don't know if they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, self-confidence issues. You don't know if that person's suicidal, right? Think about how these products have impacted your life. Think about that for a second and ask yourself this question. Do you think there are other people out there right now that are struggling with what you did before you became a coach or before you started using the products? Are there other people out there in your life that are struggling with that same exact thing or not in your life and haven't met yet? Think about that. And like I talked about earlier, imagine that was completely stripped away from you. Uncle Carl calls you up and says, sorry, no more coaching, no more 21-day fix, no more Shakeology, no more, you're done, you're not a coach anymore. How would you feel? Right? We don't have the right not to share this with people if it's changed our life that much. And people need you. And you are enough right now. So all of a sudden, your prospect list of 200 Facebook friends just turned into 200 million people that are overweight or obese in this country and need your help. Not even including the 98% of this country that's broke, right? We don't have the right not to share this with everyone. Every single person in this world is a prospect if you have the courage to try to help them. That's the way that I lead my business every single day. And the last one that I have is, how many of you guys have ever been afraid to attack this business because you don't know how you're going to balance it with your full-time job and everything else in life? How many people have ever felt that way? And I want to talk about this real quick. If you've used that as a great reason why you can't be successful or a rationalization of why you don't have the time to make it work, I want to call out right now my personal belief, and this again is not a dig on your character, this is just my personal belief, that it's the most illegitimate excuse out there that I will never accept. You find a way, guys. If you want something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. You can't tell me for 1 second you don't have the time to create a life of your dreams, right? That life for your family. You do have the time. You have limited time, but successful coaches find a way to make time, right? They see the long-term possibility and they make the short-term sacrifices to make it happen. Let me ask you this. If I told you that if you don't find $20,000 for a prescription drug for your kid by tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. or they're going to die, you'd find a way to find 20 grand, wouldn't you? You would find a way, right? It's an extreme example and a little bit morbid, but think about it. I don't care how many hours you work at your job or if Johnny has soccer practice, right? If this is important to you, you do what it takes to make it happen. And if right now you're messing around with the vital behaviors, just thinking that one day this is magically going to be a big business, then stop wasting your family's time, because the same thing is looking them in the eye and saying they weren't worth it. That sounds pretty harsh, but it's so true. If you had to work, like if you're working 2 hours right now scrolling social media and not doing the vital behaviors, is that being a good husband or wife or dad or mom, right? What if you took those 2 hours a day and built a business that retired your husband or wife and gave you that life of choice? Would you be a pretty good wife or husband then, right? Think about that. There's never going to be a right time to change the course of your life, guys. Something else will come up, and I can guarantee you that. If it's, after Christmas time, it's going to be January when everything else goes crazy, right? There's never going to be a right time, but the time is going to pass anyways. So you have a choice. You can keep using it as a great reason why you can't be successful, or you can draw a line in the sand and see it as an obstacle that you're going to make it through regardless of the sacrifice. You need to make sacrifices. You're adding this onto your life for a reason. It won't just happen. So when you're making that decision, ask yourself this question right now. What if I told you that in 1 year from now, your life would be totally different and enriched in such a positive way? Would you be willing to do what it takes? Would you have enough belief to keep pushing? Guys, you're staring down the barrel of a life-changing opportunity right now. And it's not going to be encased in something appealing, and it's not going to be convenient. But there's something in your gut that says, I'm supposed to say yes. I'm supposed to be here. There's an opportunity here. And there's all these other people, even husbands or wives, saying that this is a bad idea. And there's those negative voices in your head that you've yet to beat with personal development yet. But there's this opportunity knocking on your door. And you can either step up or step down. You can make the time to spend on this worth it, right? Or you can look back 5 years from now full of regret. See, a lot of people want the results. They want the shiny things. They want the amazing stuff in life, but are you willing to earn that? You might feel motivated right now, right? Or inspired right now. And that's amazing, but this call isn't going to be here tomorrow, right? It's not going to be here. You need to put the work in daily and create your own motivation, right? It's created by your sacrifice and your consistent action. You got to put in the hours. You don't know mine. You don't see my 5 a.m.s. You don't see my hidden time. You don't see my late nights, what I'm going to do after this call. You don't see the amount of times that I've told my buddies no to stay in on a Friday night. You don't see the sacrifices in the hours, right? But where are yours? Are you putting in the time that it takes? Are you making the time? Where are your 5 a.m.s, right? We have the greatest business in the world and the greatest products in the world. It doesn't happen when it's fun. It doesn't happen when you're at Summit or Super Saturday. It doesn't happen when you're in Punta Cana. It happens tomorrow morning and every single other day when no one else is looking. This is about you and your future and your team and your team's families. Don't give your family and your team the minimum. Don't just skate by. Don't just do the minimum vital behaviors. Don't give your future the minimum. Give it everything you've got with this. It's your turn to make it happen. I'm going to keep doing this. Rose is going to keep doing this. Leia's going to keep doing this. It's your turn and it's your choice. And you know that I believe that success in this business is nothing more than a decision and tenacity to make it happen. So decide. And you do the shit when no one's watching. Sorry if there's kids around. And say yes when you get an opportunity that knocks on your door that's this beautiful and it's not convenient. And draw a line in the sand and decide that you're going to make a change. Decide you're going to change your future. And make yourself a promise. Make yourself and your family a promise right now that instead of doing what most people do, which is shrink their dreams to the size of their income, you're going to go out there and get your ass up every single day consistently and build your income and your business to the size of your dreams because you deserve it and your future deserves it and your family deserves it. So go do it. And I will turn that back over to you guys. And I know I kind of sprinted there at the end, but I know I was getting a little bit long. So I hope you guys took a lot away from this, and I'm happy to take questions if you guys have them.
Holy shit. That was just awesome, Leia. Cover her ears. Wow, Brad. Amazing, amazing. I'm going to shut up because I don't think I can follow Brad right now. I'm sure anyone have any questions, comments. This is the time that we get to learn from someone that I've looked up to since I've started. So don't be shy. Let's talk this out.
Bueller?
I've got a question.
Yeah, Rachel, what's up?
Hey, Brad. Question for you. What's your favorite way to kind of remind yourself of your motivation or your why? Do you like vision boards or, Post-it notes, or what's your favorite thing?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have never done a vision board, but one of the things that I do every single day is an exercise called priming by Tony Robbins. If one of you guys wants to type in the chat box, it's called just go to tonyrobbins.com/momentum. And at the bottom of the page, there's a 14-minute audio file. And what that does is it really puts you in a state of mind to focus on being grateful and focus for what you already have, and then focusing on what you want and being grateful for that coming to fruition. And that's a great way to kind of revisualize your why and do it from a great state of mind. Because a lot of times people make the mistake of saying, I wish I wasn't broke, right? That's just an example, one example. I wish I wasn't broke, instead of saying things like, I can't wait to have financial abundance, right? Just a small change in how they look at it completely affects the course of their day. And when you get yourself in a state of mind, a state of gratitude, before you focus on that why, everything changes. So Tony, let me type it in, tonyrobbins.com/moments. And I go to that every single day, bottom of the page, 14-minute audio file. It's just 14 minutes by myself to focus on those things. And it's been one of the most powerful things I've ever done. I've done it every single day since UPW in June of last year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else? Bueller? How did you change the culture of your team since you lost Coach over? Ooh, that is an awesome question. I love that. One, I stopped convincing people. I made a decision that I was never going to convince someone to be here again. And that was one of the hardest things I've done because I've always been a control freak my entire life. So the first thing I did was stop convincing people and understand that I can't want this more for someone than they want it for themselves. Number two is I shared my vision for this team. Instead of having my own goals, I started sharing my vision of where we were going and what this can do for their lives. Like pushing for elite last year, we missed it by 3 points, but we all came together as a unit. And we hit Premier, and I think that's amazing. But that came from sharing with them what this can do for their business, being an elite team, coming together on a common goal, and sharing what it will do for their lives. So sharing vision. And then the third thing I started doing was asking for other people's opinions instead of just sharing. Like when I would post in my team page or have this. Whenever I would share information, it would always be like me just sharing something that they needed to know. Instead, I would empower someone else to share about that. So if, let's say, my friend Erin, she's a full-time coach on her team, absolute rock star. And instead of, let's say there's something about inviting that I thought the team could benefit from, I would reach out to Erin and say, hey, Erin, you've been killing it with your inviting. Would you mind doing a video in the team page to help the team with it? And I started delegating, right? So 1 is stop convincing, 2, share vision, 3, delegate with the purpose of empowering other people. And then number 4, and this is the biggest one that took me the longest time to do, was I released emotional attachment to the outcome of what happened. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. But for me to make a decision that it was going to be okay no matter what. And that mindset shift, while it didn't have a direct impact on my Coaches Hitting Success Club, it changed my mindset, which changed my behavior, which changed the way that I led my team. If that's something you struggle with, having control or having some sort of like attachment to the outcome in some way, I highly recommend you read the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. It's an amazing book. It's called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The first time I read it, I thought it was a little like, this is freaking weird, right? It's kind of like, just trust me, if you go through the book, it really helps. And I'm totally happy to go through an exercise that my Tony Robbins coach, I also invested in a Tony Robbins coach, that my coach helped me with about attachment, that helped me get through that as well. I'm happy to go through that too, if you guys want me to. But yeah, those are the 4 things that I did to change my culture, and it's still growing. It's still changing. It's not perfect. There are things that I wish were better. But I made a decision that either way, I'm doing the best that I can, and that's all that matters. So if you're doing the best that you can, Diana, you're doing great. You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
As usual.
Love it.
So you were saying about recruiting new coaches and all that. What are your kind of like, I know that's like a whole nother call, but like your quick version, which I'm sure you're capable of busting out for me, on bringing in new coaches? Because I get like, that's something I definitely struggle with, is bringing in new coaches. And I don't know. I'm just curious your thoughts on that, because you said that was very important.
I find that very, very interesting that you asked that, because I took inventory of my business a little while ago, and I looked at the coaches on my team that I have retention with, that are still here, that are fighting every single day. And I look at the coaches on my team that signed up and then disappeared and just went like, where the hell are you? Right. And 100% of the coaches that disappeared were coaches that weren't customers first. I find that really interesting. So I looked at my coaches that are all rock stars. They're obviously coaches that were customers first, and they're all coaches that had a success story with the product. And I thought that was so interesting that all the coaches that were still here but weren't doing anything with the business were coaches that signed up as customers first but never got a result of the program. I found that so interesting. So me personally, I used to recruit a lot of people by sharing just the opportunity. And I know there are a lot of coaches that do that. And I believe it's fine to do. I have just put more of an emphasis lately, the last 6 months, on getting my new coaches, even if they sign up for the business, and my customers results. That's the main focus that I have right now. And I'll share something else that will help convert them to coaches. But that's my main focus that I have right now, because it's 100%. Carl nailed it on the head when he did a video in The Wall. We have a group for 5-star diamond coaches called The Wall, where kind of collaborate and stuff. And Carl did a video about in there from leadership about the belief in the box, right? Like, even if we can sign coaches, a couple coaches, are they going to have enough belief to be long-term coaches over the course of a long period of time, or are they just in it for the quick Mercedes-Benz that they want, right? You know, so talk about having belief in what we do. And so I found that so true in my personal business. Other coaches have a great time recruiting coaches out of the blue. I personally don't. So when it comes to actually helping them become working coaches, I think that's what you might be asking. And Leah, I think it's right along with your question too. What I do is I focus on giving my customers the absolute best experience that I possibly can. And guys, I want to be totally honest with you. I hate challenge groups with a burning passion. I cannot stand challenge groups, but I pour my heart and soul into them because I know what it can do. And I love the results of the challenge groups. I love how it makes people feel. I just hate the activities of running it, right? So I pour myself into it, and what I start doing is empowering my challengers to have a different role in the group. Hello. You good? I don't know where it is. I think it's downstairs. And I start empowering my coaches to have a role in the group, whether that's posting a motivational quote. I'll share, I'll praise them. I'll use that fourth vital behavior of recognition in my challenge groups. I'll shout them out. Then what I'll do is I'll reach out to them and praise them for the results and share with them how they're doing an amazing job. And I'll just ask them to keep going because it's helping make my job a lot easier, right? And then I'll comment things like, "You're going to make such an amazing coach," or things like that. And then I'll ask them to become coaches from that process. But overall, the main takeaway I want you guys to have for me personally is focus on either brand new coaches that sign for the business or customers. My main focus is on getting them results so they have belief when they become coaches. Does that make sense? Yes? Awesome. I ramble, so just slap me if I ramble and say things 4 times in a row. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Bueller?
Really? That's it? Wow. Well, I'm not going to reiterate what Brad said because obviously he had so many freaking truth bombs. But the one that always hits me the most, and I've always said this from day one, that I'm going to be in this for life. I'm a lifer. And asking yourself that question, how long would you quit on your family, or however you said that? I know I'm screwing it up. But would you quit on your family? I would hope not, because that's what this opportunity is giving you, and it's giving your family is whatever you want, whatever you guys want in life, whatever your goals and dreams are. Why are you willing to give that up? Because of fear of failure, because of fear of what other people are going to say about you, because you don't think you're good enough, all those other excuses that Brad was saying, you don't have time, this, that, whatever. But it comes down to asking yourself that question is, are you willing to give up on your family? And you're going to hopefully say, heck no, I'm not going to do that. So, Brad, you're the bomb. Thank you so much.
You're the bomb.
You're the bomb.
You're the bomb.
And Brad was actually the one who we were in Nashville for Summit in that tunnel. Probably we both lost 10 pounds each from sweating so much underneath of there, waiting for recognition. But once he told me that that his business really changed once he went to Tony, that's when I was like, sold. I got my Tony coach, I got my UPW ticket, and life has never been the same.
Invest in that.
And that was the song that was played at the event. Life will. I'm not going to sing because that's going to scare everyone. But that was the song. Life will never be the same, and it hasn't been. So if you guys haven't been to any event like that, I mean, holy crap, it is absolute golden. You all have, seen Leia's post on Facebook about what it's done for not just her business, but just for her life in general. I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing. So don't sell yourself short by thinking a book is personal development or reading GoPro once is your personal development, because I see that way too often. What's your personal development? GoPro. I think you were doing that last year. I think it's a good thing to read them, a couple times, but you definitely need to move on and keep stepping up your game, especially if you've been a coach in a year, if you've been in this for a year or 2 years or 3 years, you got to step that level up and do more for your personal development, because I've grown since the last time I did GoPro or the Compound Effect or all the other freaking books that I have on my bookshelf. But it's going to be that time where you're going to have to ask yourself, what's that next step for me? What's going to make me grow even more? Because you are going to grow, but you got to keep pushing it. I think we've all gotten to that comfort level. You're like, yeah, all right, I grew a little bit. I'm cool right here. But you got to say, no, I'm not staying here for too long. I'm going to the next level, and I'm going to keep going. So that's my little spiel for tonight.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, invest in yourself for sure. That's what it's all about. Investing in yourself, and it will come back tenfold.
You don't have the money. That is exactly why you need to invest. I love that.
Always the excuse. I don't have the money, but if you invest, then you will have it. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Brad. It's been real.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Take care. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Brad.